We were cursed. Okay, so you should be coming from part 7 of the series. These videos are a part of a docu-series and should be watched from the beginning in order if you're going to understand what is being presented. So please, if you have not watched parts 1 through 7, please stop this video and start back from video 1 and watch them consecutively for true context. Okay, well, like I have been saying through parts 1 through 7, we are not black people. But you now have enough information to know who you are. You are not a black person. You are a descendant from the house of Israel and Judah, and your heritage has been stripped from you. After part 7, you should now also understand why this was able to happen. But as I explained, our Father did not just curse you and leave you to figure it out. He explained exactly what he would do long before it was ever done. He gave our people a fair warning, and we did not listen. He also explained what the only sign would be for people to know who his true descendants are. The crazy thing is that the answers are all in the Word. It's all right there for us to know for ourselves if we would just pick up our Bibles and read it. It's right there. I want to make sure you understand this as clear as can be, so I have illustrated this important chapter so that you can clearly understand and see what he has said and why. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28. The blessings. Now it shall come to pass, if you diligently obey the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, to observe carefully all his commandments which I command you today, that Yahweh your Elohim will set you high above all nations of the earth, and all these blessings shall come upon you and overtake you, because you obey the voice of Yahweh your Elohim. Blessed shall you be in the city, and blessed shall you be in the country. Blessed shall be the fruit of your body, the produce of your ground, and the increase of your herds, the increase of your cattle, and the offspring of your flocks. Blessed shall be your basket and your kneading bowl. Blessed shall you be when you come in, and blessed shall you be when you go out. Yahweh will cause your enemies who rise against you to be defeated before your face. They shall come out against you one way and flee before you 7 ways. Yahweh will command a blessing on you in your storehouses and in all to which you set your hand, and he will bless you in the land which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you. Yahweh will establish you as a holy people to himself, just as he has sworn to you, if you keep the commandments of Yahweh your Elohim and walk in his ways. Then all peoples of the earth shall see that you are called by the name of Yahweh, and they shall be afraid of you. And Yahweh will grant you plenty of goods in the fruit of your body, in the increase of your livestock, and in the produce of your ground, in the land of which Yahweh swore to your fathers to give you. Yahweh will open to you his good treasure, the heavens, to give the rain to your land in its season, and to bless all the work of your hand. You shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow. And Yahweh will make you the head and not the tail. You shall be above only and not be beneath, if you heed the commandments of Yahweh your Elohim, which I command you today, and are careful to observe them. So you shall not turn aside from any of the words which I command you this day, to the right or the left, to go after other gods to serve them. So let's just stop right there. Verses 1 through 14 of this chapter, Deuteronomy chapter 28, speak of the blessings Israel will receive if they obey Yahweh's commandments, and as we review the history of the Israelites in the Old Testament, we can see some of this fulfilled when King David and King Solomon were kings of Israel. Kings and queens would come afar to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and Israel was blessed with abundance. King David led Israel in righteousness, and they were blessed and highly favored because of this. You see, Yahweh desires to bless us, but it requires our obedience. Now, according to the scriptures, the obedience of Israel, it was not long-lived, and Israel disobeyed Yahweh. Now, let me say this. In part 6, I have explained who we are by understanding history. At part 7, by going through why our oppression was able to happen to us through understanding the scriptures. But there is truly only one way of understanding who Israel is today. Everyone has opinions on this subject, and this subject can be highly controversial for obvious reasons. But the overall truth of it is that this is a biblical topic, and if we're to truly understand who Israel is, we must look at it biblically first. And so though I have explained who you are by reversing through history, the only true way of looking at this is by the only sign that our Father has said he will use to show who we are. The culture of Israel is not by paintings and images. They were not allowed to do this according to their Torah. The culture definitely is not going to be found through DNA science. You see, I reject DNA science for a simple reason that it seems everyone that believes in it simply chooses to ignore. Now, understand, I don't mind using it for matching parents of family because you know what it is that they're comparing it to. I don't disagree with that. The problem I have with them using it for history is the question of who is it that these people are being used to compare it to? Who is the reference point for their DNA? Like, these are the same ones that later on will be using the Shroud of Turin to justify who the Antichrist is. I do not believe them, nor their history. So I definitely don't trust their DNA claims unless they can show me who it is that they're using as a reference point for comparison. And there's just too many falsehoods that are up with that. That's why I reject when people talk about DNA. The truth is that anyone reviewing this about who Israel is must review this biblically. And so if our Father has said that there is a sign on his descendants that we would all know them by, this is what we should look to use in order to identify them. And the thing is that you will find that when reviewing this subject, most people in the world today completely ignore this and they use their own rationalizations instead of what was actually written by our Father. They use science created by the enemy, instead of using the actual words our Father has given us. So if he said there will be a sign upon his descendants, for anyone that says that they believe in the Bible, this should be the main sign that they use. And then after that, the other evidence, like the history I gave earlier, that evidence then can be applied to validate or support it or not. So I'm looking at it biblically. What did the Most High say? It's right in this chapter. It's in verses 45 and 46. They say, "Moreover, all these curses shall come upon you and pursue and overtake you until you are destroyed, because you did not obey the voice of Yahweh your Elohim to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded you. And they shall be upon you for a sign and a wonder, and on your descendants forever." Deuteronomy chapter 28 verses 45 and 46. You see, the curses will be on the descendants of Israel forever as a sign and a wonder. You see, he put these curses on them as a sign. So if we're going to look at this subject biblically, we cannot ignore this sign. So what we will do now that we have read through the blessings, let's read through the curses. Verses 15 through 68 explain the consequences of their disobedience. Let's see what he says. "But it shall come to pass, if you do not obey the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, to observe carefully all his commandments and his statutes, which I command you today, that all these curses will come upon you and overtake you. Cursed shall you be in the city, and cursed shall you be in the country. Cursed shall be your basket and your kneading bowl. Cursed shall be the fruit of your body and the produce of your land, the increase of your cattle and the offspring of your flocks. Cursed shall you be when you come in, and cursed shall you be when you go out. Yahweh will send on you cursing, confusion, and rebuke in all that you set your hand to do, until you are destroyed, and until you perish quickly, because of the wickedness of your doings in which you have forsaken me. Yahweh will make the plague cling to you until he has consumed you from the land which you are going to possess. Yahweh will strike you with consumption, with fever, with inflammation, with severe burning fever, with the sword, with scorching, and with mildew. They shall pursue you until you perish. And your heavens, which are over your head, shall be bronze, and the earth which is under you shall be iron. Yahweh will change the rain of your land to powder and dust. From the heaven it shall come down on you until you are destroyed. Yahweh will cause you to be defeated before your enemies. You shall go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them. And you shall become troublesome to all the kingdoms of the earth. Your carcasses shall be food for all the birds of the air and the beasts of the earth, and no one shall frighten them away. Yahweh will strike you with boils of Egypt, with tumors, with the scab, with the itch, from which you cannot be healed. Yahweh will strike you with madness and blindness and confusion of heart. And you shall grope at noonday, as a blind man gropes in darkness. You shall not prosper in your ways. You shall be only oppressed and plundered continually, and no one shall save you. You shall betroth a wife, but another man shall lie with her. You shall build a house, but you shall not dwell in it. You shall plant a vineyard, but shall not gather its grapes. Your ox shall be slaughtered before your eyes, but you shall not eat of it. Your donkey shall be violently taken away before you, and shall not be restored to you. Your sheep shall be given to your enemies, and you shall have no one to rescue them. Your sons and your daughters shall be given to another people, and your eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all day long, and there shall be no strength in your hand. A nation whom you have not known shall eat the fruit of your land and the produce of your labor, and you shall be only oppressed and crushed continually. So you shall be driven mad because of the sight which your eyes see. Yahuwah will strike you in the knees and on the legs with severe boils which cannot be healed, and from the sole of your foot to the top of your head. Yahuwah will bring you and the king whom you set over you to a nation which neither you nor your fathers have known, and there you shall serve other gods, wood and stone. And you shall become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations where Yahuwah will drive you. You shall carry much seed out to the field, but gather little in, for the locust shall consume it. You shall plant vineyards and tend them, but you shall neither drink of the wine nor gather the grapes, for the worm shall eat them. You shall have olive trees throughout all your territory, but you shall not anoint yourself with the oil, for your olive shall drop off. You shall beget sons and daughters, but they shall not be yours, for they shall go into captivity. Locusts shall consume all your trees and the produce of your land. The alien who is among you shall rise higher and higher above you, and you shall come down lower and lower. He shall lend to you, but you shall not lend to him. He shall be the head, and you shall be the tail. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon you and pursue and overtake you until you are destroyed, because you did not obey the voice of Yahuwah your Elohim to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded you. And they shall be upon you for a sign and a wonder, and on your descendants forever, because you did not serve Yahuwah your Elohim with joy and gladness of heart, for the abundance of everything. Therefore you shall serve your enemies, whom Yahuwah will send against you in hunger, in thirst, in nakedness, and in need of everything. And he will put a yoke of iron on your neck until he has destroyed you. Yahuwah will bring a nation against you from afar, from the ends of the earth, as swift as the eagle flies, a nation whose language you will not understand, a nation of fierce countenance, which does not respect the elderly, nor show favor to the young. And they shall eat the increase of your livestock and the produce of your land, until you are destroyed. They shall not leave you grain, or new wine, or oil, or the increase of your cattle, or the offspring of your flocks, until they have destroyed you. They shall besiege you at all your gates, until your high and fortified walls, in which you trust, come down throughout all your land. And they shall besiege you at all your gates throughout all your land, which Yahuwah your Elohim has given you. You shall eat the fruit of your own body, the flesh of your sons and your daughters, whom Yahuwah your Elohim has given you, in the siege and desperate straits in which your enemy shall distress you. The sensitive and very refined man among you will be hostile towards his brother, toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the rest of his children whom he leaves behind, so that he will not give any of them the flesh of his children whom he will eat, because he has nothing left in the siege and desperate straits in which your enemy shall distress you at all your gates. The tender and delicate woman among you, who would not venture to set the sole of her foot on the ground because of her delicateness and sensitivity, will refuse to the husband of her bosom, and to her son and her daughter, her placenta which comes out from between her feet, and her children whom she bears. For she will eat them secretly for lack of everything in the siege and desperate straits in which your enemy shall distress you at all your gates. If you do not carefully observe all the words of this law that are written in this book, that you may fear this glorious and awesome name, Yahuwah, your Elohim, then Yahuwah will bring upon you and your descendants extraordinary plagues, great and prolonged plagues, and serious and prolonged sickness. Moreover, he will bring back on you all the diseases of Egypt, of which you were afraid, and they shall cling to you. Also, every sickness and every plague which is not written in this book of the law will Yahuwah bring upon you until you are destroyed. You shall be left few in number, whereas you are as the stars of heaven in multitude, because you will not obey the voice of Yahuwah your Elohim. And it shall be that just as Yahuwah rejoiced over you to do you good and multiply you, so Yahuwah will rejoice over you to destroy you and bring you to nothing. and you shall be plucked off from the land which you go to possess. Then Yahweh will scatter you among all peoples, from one end of the earth to the other, and there you shall serve other gods, which neither you nor your fathers have known, wood and stone. And among those nations you shall find no rest, nor shall the sole of your foot have a resting place. But there Yahweh will give you a trembling heart, failing eyes, and anguish of soul. Your life shall hang in doubt before you. You shall fear day and night, and have no assurance of life. In the morning you shall say, "Oh, it were evening." In the evening you shall say, "Oh, that it were morning," because of the fear which terrifies your heart, and because of the sight which your eyes see. And Yahweh will take you back to Egypt in ships, by the way of which I said to you, you shall never see it again. And there you shall be offered for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one will buy you. It was really challenging to illustrate all these curses that were promised to Israel. Like I said before I read them, the first way of gaining some clarity on who Israel is today is by examining these curses and asking yourself throughout history, who has received these curses? For me, this became quite clear, and it answered a lot of questions for me that I've had since I was a child. The children of Israel were given these curses because of their disobedience, and this chapter clearly explains those curses. The most important thing to understand is that this is not just a promise of one bad circumstance or one bad event, and things will get better later. These curses are not lifted from Israel, so even in this modern time, the Israelites still should suffer from the circumstances of these curses. He said that they shall be upon you for a sign and a wonder, and on your descendants forever. They will never be the head, and they will always be the tail, always a borrower and never the lender, worshiping false gods that they did not know. The goal of this video was not to press my views upon you, but to let the word have its day. These scriptures need to be brought out and placed into our understanding. You cannot talk about Israel and not understand Deuteronomy chapter 28. And if you're saying that a group of people are Israelites, then you must understand that these curses must apply to them. A big question in the world today is, what happened to the Israelites after they crucified their Messiah, Yahusha? If you believe the word of Yah, then you know that these curses are what happened to them. And once this understanding is gained, then more knowledge can be applied to it. Here are some specific verses of the curses. Verse 25, Israel shall become troublesome to all the kingdoms of the earth. Verse 28, Yahweh will strike Israel with madness and blindness and confusion of heart. Verse 29, Israel shall be only oppressed and plundered continually, and no one shall save her. Verse 30, Israelites shall betroth the wife, that means marry, but another man shall lie with her. They shall build a house, but they shall not dwell in it. They shall plant a vineyard, but not gather its grapes. Verse 32, Israel's sons and daughters shall be given to another people, and their eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all day long. There shall be no strength in their hand. Verse 33, a nation whom Israel has not known shall eat the fruit of his land and the produce of his labor, and Israel shall be only oppressed and crushed continually. So shall she be driven mad because of the sight which her eyes see. Verses 36 and 37, Yahweh will bring Israel and the king whom Israel sets over her to a nation which neither she nor her fathers have known, and there Israel shall serve other gods, wood and stone. And Israel shall become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations where Yahweh will drive her. Verses 43 and 44. This alien, that means stranger, who is among Israel, shall rise higher and higher above her, and Israel shall come down lower and lower. He shall lend to Israel, but Israel shall not lend to him. He shall be the head, and Israel shall be the tail. Verse 48. Therefore Israel shall serve their enemies, whom Yahweh will send against them in hunger, in thirst, in nakedness, and in need of everything. And he will put a yoke of iron on Israel's neck until he has destroyed them. Verse 49 and 50. Yahweh will bring a nation against Israel from afar, from the ends of the earth, as swift as the eagle flies, a nation whose language Israel will not understand, a nation of fierce countenance, which does not respect the elderly, nor show favor to the young. Verse 64. Yahuwah will scatter Israel among all peoples from one end of the earth to the other, and there Israel shall serve other gods, which neither them nor their fathers have known, wood and stone. Verse 66. Israel's life shall hang in doubt before them. They shall fear day and night and have no assurance of life. Verse 68. Yahuwah will take Israel back to Egypt in ships, by the way of which I said to you, you shall never see it again. And what I want to do right now is cover the last part, this verse 68. Because you know what? Through all these undeniable scriptures, people will read through all of them and use the last line of verse 68 incorrectly and then use it to negate and reject all the other evidence that is so clear about our plight. Verse 68 says, and there you shall be offered for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one will buy you. And people use this scripture in the most ignorant way in order to say that, hey, see, that's why it can't be you, because people obviously bought you as slaves, and it said no one will buy you. The hypocrisy being that because we were slaves, and it matches all the other curses that he said would happen to us, because they say that no one will buy us, this means that this was not us. The hypocrisy and ignorance in this is astounding, that people actually use the other curses to justify why this cannot be us, instead of really trying to understand what it is this verse might be saying, because it should be clear that there is a misunderstanding. When he says, and there you shall be offered for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one will buy you, this is not about slave masters buying us. He explained this in terms of not having hope, meaning no one will buy us and save us from our enemies. When this statement is made, but no one will buy you, it means redeem you or buy you back. Please understand that the curses speak of us being slaves and serving our enemies. You can obviously read through them all, so he's not contradicting himself. The only hope of being set free out of this situation is another person buying you and giving you freedom. According to the National Humanities Center, when dealing with the subject of emancipation, they wrote this: opportunities for most enslaved African Americans to attain freedom were few to none. Some were freed by their owners to honor a pledge, to grant a reward, or, before the 1700s, to fulfill a servitude agreement. A few were bought by Quakers, Methodists, and religious activists for the sole purpose of freeing them, a practice soon banned in the southern states. Many ran away to free territory, and some of these fugitives succeeded in avoiding capture and forced to the south. You see, it said the opportunities for most enslaved Hebrews to attain freedom were few to none, and even if some did try, the practice was banned shortly after. As Yahuwah said, they will be offered to sale by our enemies, and no one would buy us. There would be no hope. If you were to apply it the way people want to use it, that's not a curse. If you understood it that there you should be offered for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one will buy you. If our enemies did not buy us as slaves, that's not a curse. That's a blessing. People use these verses falsely and then hold up their application of it in pride. It's absolutely ridiculous. When it says no one will buy you, it's speaking of redeem you or buy you back. Understand that. Anyways, again, I'm going to repeat verse 46. And they shall be upon you for a sign and a wonder, and on your descendants forever. I went back to that verse because it clearly shows that these curses are a sign on the descendants of Israel forever. It's not leaving. So this understanding can take us very far in an awakening from certain lies that we've been told and truth that has been held back from us. If you're trying to understand truth, these curses must be placed in with your analysis. When understanding Israel, these scriptures can never be ignored. If you believe in his word and that it never comes back void, these scriptures must be taken into your analysis. For me personally, as I reviewed these scriptures and then looked into history, it became quite obvious to me that there is only one group of people throughout history that all these curses can be applied to. The children of Israel are scattered all over the world, and they have the same problems no matter where they are. Look in America and in the Caribbean, in South America, and review those who have been taken as slaves and were severely oppressed and still suffer through to this day. Look in the UK and in Europe. Go down to South Africa and review the history of the oppressed. Try to look up the history of the slaves that were taken for the transatlantic slave trade. In mainstream history, there's not much history given of these people before they were taken as slaves. Their history was taken and destroyed, and most of it was not taught to us in schools. I mean, how many of you knew of the Songhai Empire or the Zhou dynasty of the Hebrew kings of Ghana? You see, there are reasons for this lack of understanding. The Israelites are under the curses to this day. This is not just the oppressor's fault, though they are obviously not blameless, but the fault is on our forefathers. You see, the Hebrews that descended from the transatlantic slave trade, they try to latch on to others' cultures because we don't have an identity of our own. We forsake our true Elohim and believe in others like the Egyptian gods, Ra and Horus. We forsake our own history, looking at it as fiction, believing our oppressors' lies. This is all because of the curses. And now that many of Israel are waking up, those that are awakened, instead of submitting willfully to our Creator, they want to use our blood as an idol, and this should not be done as well. The only hope for Israel, along with the rest of the world, is to surrender to the will of Yahuwah and preach the Messiah to the lost world. This information is not given to place one group of people above another. It's not to make others feel less important. It's only given to provide truth on a subject that's not spoken about, but has everything to do with our future. So, I will stop here. You see, I know racism and spiritual wickedness will make many deny this truth and speak against this video because of the conclusions drawn. But this video was not meant for them. This video is not to bring division, but clarity. There should be an understanding that the hatred that was upon the Hebrew slaves in America was because of the devil and his hatred of Yahuwah. People didn't hate these Hebrews because of their skin color. That's deception. People hated these Hebrew people because of spiritual wickedness and rebellion against Yahuwah, while ironically at the same time professing love for him. Racism, hatred against another person solely because of the color of the skin, this is caused from demonic forces. It is a spiritual thing, not something that is just mental. These scriptures should bring clarity to those who need it in these last days, and that has been my assignment. To bring the word of Yahuwah to ears that are ready to receive it, and if that is you, I hope this opens your eyes, ears, and mind to things that may have been hidden. There is a next part of this understanding, and it goes together with these curses. You see, our Father has prophesied that he will scatter his children across the four corners of the earth. This is often ignored and not realized. And as we discuss who we are, I want to make sure that this is truly highlighted and revealed to you. So we will continue on and explain this in the next part of this series. Right now, many of you watching are the dry bones, and it is time that you are awakened. And this series is trying to do just that. So now that you understand who you are a descendant from the house of Israel and Judah, and your life has been cursed because of the rebellion of you and your ancestors. Please continue on to the next part and allow me to explain to you how this has truly manifested in the world through his promise of scattering us. I hope by now you have made it this far in the series. It has at least got you thinking. Right now, many of you are the dry bones, and as Ezekiel 37 verse 11 says, you may believe your hope is lost, and you yourselves are cut off. But I am here to show you the complete opposite is true. Your hope is not lost, and you yourselves are not cut off, if you just awaken and be who you truly are. So I will show you. Click the link to the next video, and let's talk some more. Be blessed. Hallelujah. Praise Yah. Okay, thanks again for watching. If this has blessed you, please like this and share this video with your family and your friends. Again, this is not a video to share, but to watch together with your family and friends. It's intended to start conversations that many of you can lead personally. So use this and help your family and friends that allow you to. This is part 8 of the series. Click this link or just move on to the next video in the playlist. As always, I want to thank all who donate and contribute to this ministry. This series would not be possible without your support. I thank you sincerely. Be blessed. Okay, thanks again everyone for watching. See you in part 9. I love you all.